In the past couple of weeks, I have had the opportunity to meet, see, and hear some pretty great leaders. And I wanted to share the common thread that I noticed with all of them in this week's episode. Hi everybody, I'm Michelle Carre and welcome to Your Delicious Life, where each week we take a look at life from a different perspective and we either learn something new or get reminded of something that we already knew. This week's episode is called Quiet Leadership. Now, last week in the episode, I told you guys that I wanted to share more about my experience at the One Woman Fearless Conference in Edmonton. And it was awesome. And part of the reason it was so awesome is because I got to see Mpumi Nobiva, I think I'm saying that correctly. I got to hear her speak. Now, if you're not familiar with Mpumi, she is from South Africa. She was brought up in very severe poverty, but eventually went to the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls and is now an international speaker and a communication strategist. So her story is really cool, and I'm going to dig into that a little bit more in a few minutes. But last week, so after Edmonton, I had the opportunity to meet Mark Giordano, who is the captain for the Calgary Flames. You guys know I'm not Sporty Spice. So of course I'm chatting with him and I'm like, well, not going to talk about hockey with you because I don't even know what to ask or say. And to be quite honest, I actually didn't realize he was the captain until that was made clear to me. So a little bit embarrassing, but when I realized it, I told you I'm not Sporty Spice. When I finally realized it though, I asked him, what's your leadership style? I mean, being the captain of any sports team is a challenge to begin with, but when you are the captain in an NHL team or any major sports team, you've got a lot of eyes on you. It's not just the men or the women on your team, it's the whole world watching you. So I asked him what his style was, and he said it was the simple idea of lead by example. Just go out there, do your best, try and be positive, and lead the guys by showing them those behaviors. And I love that because it's such a simple approach to leadership, but it's such a strong approach to leadership. And really, it's that quiet leadership. It's not necessarily the loud approach. He certainly didn't strike me as a big rah-rah type of guy, but it was a strong approach. It was a clean, direct approach. And it was a great reminder that that's a great way to lead people. One of the things that Mpumi shared in her speech was this statement that my story is that AIDS took my mother, not my spirit. And I loved the strength behind that statement. And what I realized after she had finished her talk was that she didn't just come to that realization in a split second or when she was 9 years old and lost her mother to HIV/AIDS. She came to that realization over time. Now, I had mentioned that she went to the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls, but when she talked about her grandmother, it was very clear that her lessons in leadership started well before attending that academy. And she shared stories of how, despite the poverty that they lived in, and you guys, I can't even imagine the things that she was describing to us. But despite that, her grandmother had a perseverance to her, and she just knew that they could make it work. And if they were hit with a challenge, she believed that they would find a way out of it. And she worked hard, and she was prideful in what she did have. And all of those actions, all of those traits, it's not like she sat Mpumi down and said, you have to be resourceful and you have to take care of what you have and you have to believe. No, she just did those things, and Mpumi watched her and she understood what she was doing, and over time realized that that was really such an incredible display of leadership that really gave her the courage to become the amazing woman that she is today. The third story I have about leadership is much closer to home. It's about my son. So you guys, I think I mentioned this on the blog couple weeks ago. I probably have mentioned it at some point, definitely on social media. But our son Lachlan broke his leg playing hockey in mid-January. So he, of course, couldn't continue to play hockey, and he was out for the remainder of the season. But he wanted to keep going to the games, and he wanted to keep supporting his team. So he would go to the games on his crutches and hobble over there, wearing his jersey and a helmet, safety first. So he could sit right on the bench and still cheer on his teammates as they were playing the games. And eventually he got rid of these crutches and was able to walk onto the ice. So they had their final game this past weekend, and we won the game, which was really exciting. But Lachlan was able to go out onto the ice and celebrate with his team members and then go through the line and shake hands with the other team. So it was cool to see him want to support the team throughout the remainder of the season. But what really got me was after the game, they do this award called Heart and Hustle. And his coach got choked up when he acknowledged Lachlan for just being a positive spirit to the team and coming to the games despite being injured and still cheering everyone on. And of course, Matt and I were crying because we're super proud of him. But I realized in that moment that that's another demonstration of leadership, because again, it's not necessarily the rah-rah type of leadership, but it's that quiet leadership of always being there, of supporting, of pushing forward despite the fact that he couldn't play. He still wanted to support those that could. So it was a wonderful moment to see him receive the Heart and Hustle Award. And it's a little fireman hat, which is really cute. But like I said, it was another demonstration of what leadership can be. Sometimes it is just physically being there for people. Sometimes it is just doing things that maybe you don't think are leadership things, but just doing them and going through life and having a good attitude. That's leadership as well. And one of the things that Mpumi said in her talk is that we all lead in one way or another, and that it doesn't always have to be big and bold and loud, but it can be quiet and just as impactful to the people around us. So after having these last couple of weeks with, meeting Mpumi and meeting Mark Giordano and seeing Lachlan receive this award, I thought, this is a good reminder for everybody that our leadership comes in small acts and, words here and there, and sometimes just us persevering is the leadership and inspiration that other people need to see. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you next week for the next episode of Your Delicious Life.